Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom, serving in some of the harshest situations to secure that freedom across the globe. This is the Lounge with Legends show, celebrating their transformation from battlefield to business. The Lounge with Legends show with Marty the Moac Martinez and James A. Phelps, a.k.a. Spartan 6.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Lounge with Legends, where we celebrate veteran success. I'm honored to share the stage with my co-host. I'm Marty Martinez, call sign the Moac, and I'm honored to share the stage with my Ranger buddy, James A. Phelps, Spartan 6. This week, we have our sponsor, GritCon Conference 2021. Ron Suzuki and the team have put together a stellar lineup. They're celebrating veteran businesses, establishing a growth mindset, and they've got some power players coming to the stage.
Yes, absolutely, Marty. They have some power hitters for sure. They have like David B. Meadows, former Navy SEAL. They have Ty Carolina, a U.S. Army officer and TV personality. They have Micah Bam Bam White, the stand-up comedian. But I don't want to steal any thunder, but basically they have some, U.S. veterans, Canadian veterans, TV personalities, musicians, and some pageant winners. So I'm excited about the event this weekend.
And it's really exciting because it's a rarity. It's this weekend in Richmond, Virginia. It's a 2-day event, and it's in person, which is such a rarity these days in the COVID world. But they're also streaming it online. For Saturday and Sunday, you can do both events. And for our viewers, you see scrolling on the ticker, they've been gracious enough to provide our viewers with a 15% discount by utilizing the promo code L with L Grit 15, or you can just see it down in the banner. But it's going to be a great event, fully support veteran businesses. So about this week. Man,
I don't know if they're ready, Marty, for this week. I don't know if we can do this.
I don't know if anybody's ready. But this week, we've got one of our great friends who's helped us. He's a teacher. He's a coach. He's a mentor for us. This episode, you notice, is called The One with the Loquacious Longfellow. Now, why Longfellow? James probably, I don't think I've even told James why I named it this. But so Longfellow, Ralph Waldo Emerson, etc. There was 4 guys called the Fireside Poets. And they are such amazing storytellers that as we were pivoting away from the Brits and becoming our own American literature, these were the ones that blazed a new trail where families would gather around the fire and read and be entertained. And that's kind of that's what my friend Lauren is he's that person that can just bring you into a tale and grip you there. And what many don't know is that, well, many people do know that he's
a lot of people know.
A lot of people know he's produced his music. He's got his TV show here also on E360, Bathrobe Moments. But did you know that he was also an Air Force veteran? He doesn't talk about it as much as I think he should.
It's perfect, man. 2 Army guys getting taken care of by an Air Force person. It's awesome.
Someone's got to fly the aircraft to get us to battle.
Airborne.
So, without further ado, are you ready for this, James?
I got to get ready. Hold on. Let me get ready. We're getting the star on the stage.
Oh, man. Ought to be in Hollywood.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Lauren because he's coming.
Speaking of Hollywood, let's bring him on. There he is. There he is. Our brother, Lauren Michael Harris.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Congratulations, you two, from the gate on what a wonderful, wonderful thing you're doing here. So we're so proud of you and very excited. I speak on behalf of everyone at the E360 Network that we love it. You two awesome heroes, veterans, and just great entrepreneurs and just basically great people. And your content is just, I'm so excited for you guys to be here and what you're going to bring to the network. So thank you for having me. It's an honor to be your very first guest.
It was without question, that was our easiest decision, was who to have on the show first. And it was.
Yeah, and I was free. I'm sure that helped.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
No, it was because, again, or we met just this past autumn is when we were first introduced, and we started working together, and you did some videos with us for footies and started talking, and we just became really good friends. And then you've had us on Bathrobe Moments a couple of times.
Yeah.
And we were also on the Veterans Day special that you hosted.
Right.
That was a great show.
That was a huge success. We're going to do that again next year.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Anytime we get to share a stage with you is amazing.
Thanks.
So I want to start off.
Okay.
Tell us about what got you, why did you join the Air Force? And this doesn't mean like Air Force over the other branches, but what was that call to serve? Because you've got now, is it like the cadence? Go to war, go to war, go to jail, or
I'm gonna keep it real. Well, here's the deal. You guys know my story. If those of you out here have seen my Goldcast, it's because, I came out of the foster system. I had 22 mothers. And back then, there wasn't a lot to help a kid coming out of the system go to college. I got accepted to 9 schools. However, there was no parent or guardian, if you will, to sign those financial aid, provide the tax information. So that door was immediately closed to me. So I didn't intend to go into the military. I actually was already moved into a dormitory at a school right next door to Notre Dame, a little school called Bethel College. I was going to go there for music, and they gave me a full ride. So I was already in the dorms, and I went home to my sister's house to wash clothes. I think I'd been in school 3 days, and I decided to go see a movie. And I got there too early. I had 45 minutes to kill. So I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Bought the ticket. And I looked across the street and I saw a sign in the window that said, watch a free video, aim high. I said, ooh, a free movie before a movie. I'm going over there. 2 days later, I was in Indianapolis in the MEP station in a room full of flags with my right hand up. And that was that. So,
well, we thank you for your service, Lauren. That's amazing.
Thank you. But you know what? Sometimes life gives you a plan better than the one you have planned for yourself, or better in my case than not much of a plan at all. I had been bitten by the bug of seeing the world, because this was actually a year after I graduated high school. I went on the road immediately, like 3 weeks after I graduated, with a group called Up With People back then. And that was the beginning of the music thing, because I didn't even know I had it in me until they auditioned me, and I was a soloist, and all this stuff started happening. So I thought, well, I'll go to school. I wasn't thinking, go to Hollywood or any of that yet. It came later. But the Air Force, that opportunity is still today proves to be one of the best decisions made for me.
Did you sing in the Air Force?
I did. How'd you know that?
We did a little research.
I was in Thompson Blues. I was the Air Force's #1 male vocalist. I competed 2 years in a row, and I won base level, command level, and worldwide 2 years in a row with the same song. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Exactly. What was the song?
Home from The Wiz. It's the Wiz, it's the black version of Over the Rainbow.
That's one of my favorites with Michael Jackson. I love that. I actually love The Wiz.
Yeah.
Diana Ross. They have some classic, some stars on there, and they have you performing it now. Hopefully, we can do that later.
What's that?
I said, hopefully, we can do it. You can do it later for us.
Oh Lord, no. That ship has sailed. Now we can pull up something from the album, something that came out of the studio. Give me a week, I'll lip sync something.
Okay.
All right. So so that's how it happened. But I want to say this too. I really didn't think I was going to be able to make it because I hadn't thought the plan out, and it wasn't until I'll never forget it. I was in the dorms in Lackland. It was like the second night there. And they called me down to the CQ downstairs, right? You have a phone call. It was 4 a.m. I'm like, phone call? Because I left a note for my sister and her husband. And they were on the phone. I don't know why they chose that time because it was probably 6 for them. They were East Coast. And they said, so you just gonna drop out of school and go into the military and don't ask anybody or anything? They said, so when they kick you out because you can't cut it, you're going to walk all the way back to Michigan. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that I was going to have to do whatever I needed to do to make it through. And I'd already been assigned the job as chapel guide, marching beside the flight to church on Sundays and marching them back. And I hurried up and got in there and found who the kid was that was the PT monitor. That's the thing I thought was, if anything gets me kicked out, it'll be because I can't do push-ups and I'm a wimp. So I went to the PT monitor and said, you want to trade jobs? Because I knew if I was out in front of them 119 guys having to be the example of the calisthenic, that I was going to pull it off. And so that's what we did. And the rest is history. Made it through.
What do you think the hardest part for your basic training? What was the hardest thing that you had to do during basic training?
Most difficult, hardest, or hardest to swallow because of ego?
Probably honestly, maybe the ego question, ego part of that.
Well, the ego thing was the first time in my life, and I had navigated through all those years in the system using my little, I wasn't short and midgety, but God rest his soul, my little Gary Coleman or Webster Lewis, Emmanuel face as a little kid. I would use the charm. And when I got in there, I kept getting what they call 341s pulled. You get 4 of them. If you lose all 4, you get recycled back to the beginning. And I lost 2 the first 2 days because I would either salute under the overhang or I would not report as ordered. You know how you're supposed to say all that. And then they said, the last time they pulled one, the third one, he was like, salutes under the overhang. I was like, okay, I can get out of that one. And then he said, it was a colonel. And then he goes, didn't failure to report. I said, okay, I'm new. It's 2 days. I can get out of that one. And then he looked at me and he goes, and I knew I was cooked then. And he wrote, and smiles all the time. Obviously thinks everything is funny. And he put an exclamation point. I was like, I'm fucked.
That sounds just like Marty.
Oh, the kids watching this show, I hope not. Bleep that out, you guys.
All right.
It's bleeped. Beep.
Well, there you go. Our first guest cussed. Get used to it. Don't have Jason Cisneros on here if you don't want cussing.
Oh,
but that's how it happened. But the thing is, though, I'll tell you this, and then I'll just shut up about it. All of those things, it was like the military mindset was beginning to show me the power of discipline and respect and honor. And because all those things, how they make you fold your underwear in the beds and the hospital corners and all of that stuff. And no one, you got to understand, the day my mom died and they came in 2 days later and pulled me out of that house, took my name, took my family, took me out of there, and I didn't see them again until I was an adult. There was nobody that cared if I learned how to do anything the right way. No one said, you got your homework done, you get time to go take a shower, none of that. So when these things started coming through, it was great because I felt like I mattered.
right.
My presence mattered and doing the right thing mattered to someone other than just myself. So
Is that when you first started feeling that fraternal brotherhood, being part of something bigger than yourself?
yes.
Probably start feeling, and I think that's what most of us, we don't even know that we have a longing for that until you're part of it.
That's right.
And then once you're part of it, you realize, man, I'm actually part of something bigger than myself. Now,
it always will be. You know that. You know it'll always be there, or at least you hope it will.
And that's one of the things that I think is unique about the veteran community, is that you can, like James and I, as an example, you can stop talking just because we PCS, we move, and it wasn't because of anything between us, but we stopped talking for about, 15 years, James?
That's true. That's what he thinks. But anyway, yeah, that's true though. The thing is, Marty and I, we could pick up. He could still finish my sentence, even though I was his boss 15 years ago. It's amazing.
I was exactly about. That's where I was heading. Of course, he had to cut me off because we shared that
and reverse the story.
But you can pick that up because of that bond that you have with your brothers and sisters that share that.
Let me tell you, boy, you really said something when you said that, because I had lost track with my best friend, and we had been roommates in the dorms at the last base I was at before I separated. We lived off base, as roommates as well. And he was in another 2 years after me, and it was 40 years. And we found each other on Facebook, and this really happened. As a matter of fact, the first year when I competed, he would practice with me. We recorded a little 8-track, and we would record, and it was the first time I ever heard myself stacking vocals and stuff. Really. And I don't think I would have albums today if I hadn't heard the possibilities. And so Dave Schultz is his name, and we met we reconnected 4 years ago, and we met in between Iowa and Chicago, where our homes are, and we went to a casino. So our rooms in the hotel were right next door to each other. And when I knocked on his door because he was there first, he grabbed his guitar right in the hallway, because our song was Ain't No Sunshine, right?
Nice.
And he actually sang it the next year, competing against me, and came in second. That's what you get, right? But he went into it, and I went into it. No, let's do the song, nothing. I heard the opening chords, and we were right back in that dormitory. And we did it as if we had never missed a minute, let alone 40 years. It was just incredible. And we do a yearly getaway. We went to Ozarks last year, even during COVID. We bucked up and went down there because neither one of us realized how deep the relationship we were forging was until we were forced to honor it by looking down the hole that served as the depth, if that makes any sense. And we realized, and I panicked in my spirit many times over the years. Accomplishments would happen, and I would think, it was Dave Schultz who told me this would happen, and you're going to do an album one day. And I said, no, you're going to do an album one day. And when we reconnected, we both had albums that were outselling at the same time, right? And so it was it's a great thing. I encourage any young person who is looking for something that they can always have for the rest of their days to look into the military.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so are there things that you encounter today that you reflect back to your military training, or situations where you're like, you know what, I've had it rougher, and this too shall pass, and I can move past this?
Yeah, I do, because I didn't realize, I guess I should just put it out there. It was a few years, I think like 2.5, 3 years after I separated, and the management company that had me under contract in Phoenix, where I was stationed, moved. We all went to Hollywood because I got a record deal, and so we all moved out there. It was a totally different world, and I missed what I had so much because people were around you for different reasons suddenly. It was not the safety. I didn't feel the arms around me anyway, long story short, before I knew it, which happens many times with kids who get these deals and go out and I'm going to be a star kind of thing or whatever. I found myself at the forefront of what would end up eventually being a 14-year drug addiction. And if it weren't for a lot of the things that had been poured into me through that experience known as the military, I really wonder sometimes if I would have ever been able to pull myself out.
Right.
Because when it came down to it, that moment when it was either die in this world or get out of this world, the rope that pulled me out was the rope that I had cast in a junk drawer, thinking the military career for me is over, that life is over, making that transition that you guys talk about on the show from battlefield to business. I didn't realize it until I needed it, but thank God it was there, because it was there when I needed it most. So,
and that's one of those things, and I want to ask you, because I have those situations, and so does James, but you've got a unique background from most of the people, honestly, that we're going to have on the show, because most of us will be coming from a combat arms perspective, from military intelligence, et cetera. But to have somebody that performed in the band, and it's to say, regardless of what your MOS was, your time in service still leaves a mark on you where you can find and create that positive growth mindset, because you've encountered different things. No matter what your MOS, what your branch, whatever it is, you still made a sacrifice, and you still raised your hand and said, I'm willing to write this check. And so there's things in there that we often take for granted.
Yeah.
It's really unique. Again, your perspective on this, because you have such a unique background, and moving forward in that, but there's times where you still recollect and go back and say, I got this because of who I am and what the training that I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I'll say this, even in my darkest, lowest, coldest hours, that season that I just spoke of, that followed that time in the military, I still always had something that no one could take from me. No matter how low I felt at the time, I still had the winning experience, as something to hold on to, as well. At least I did that right.
Right.
And sometimes that's all you need, is a little belief in something that is tangible in your world. And the military experience provided that for me.
So, absolutely. I mean, you were able to dig upon, you've already proved yourself once back, when you were at completing basic training while you served in the Air Force. Well, as far as we know, you were the honor grad for basic training. I thought that's what your bio said.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I ended up being the dorm chief too.
That's what I'm saying.
I had him impeached, and he was wrong. You want to hear that story real quick?
Yeah.
I got impeached. Airman Curry, if you're out there, we've actually flew sitting next to each other from Indianapolis to San Antonio, and he ended up being the dorm chief, whereas I was, of course, as I mentioned, the PT monitor. And we had you ever did bed drills? Somebody had a bed with a wrinkle in it.
Yeah.
Okay, God forbid. And Sergeant Morris, he had already served 2 enlistments in the Marines. So now he came over to mess with us, and he saw that wrinkle, and it was so we had to do bed drills for 3 hours, where you're upstairs and you got to run down the fire escape, and then line up and count off within a certain amount of time, and then they blow the whistle, and you got to go and you go up there, and the bed you just made, they've thrown them everywhere, mattresses, sheets, everything's everywhere, and they go, you have 4 minutes to make these beds, and then you're doing it, and then now get downstairs, fire. As soon as you get down there, go back up. They did that for 3 hours. You couldn't breathe. You're sweating, and so anyway, then you had to get in the bed after you came back. Now get in the bed, and I'm sitting around getting ready to take my boots off. They're like, nobody told you to take anything off, right? So I'm like, oh shoot, right. So anyway, it was like the next day, and his bed, because he was the dorm chief, was right in front of Sergeant Morris's office. So when he comes in, he opens the door, he sits down, and what's he looking at? Airman Curry's bed. And I saw a big ass wrinkle. I was like, are you gonna fix that before he gets here? He pulled a 341 out of my pocket, talking about I was being non-compliant with something he told me. I said, look. So anyway, he called me in there. Sergeant Morris said, so what's this with you and Curry? And I told him, I said, of all the beds what's the first one? What are you looking at? Let me move. Can I move? Permission to move. He said, move. So, and he looked, I said, and it was still there. He didn't fit. I said, look, that doesn't sound like, I don't care what he said, how he said, I said it. Look at that wrinkle. If somebody brought that to his attention, knowing how you feel about it because of yesterday, what was I supposed to say to that? I spoke for everybody in here. And he goes, you know what? Airman Curry, he calls him in here. He goes, Airman Curry, switch bunks with Airman Harris. Harris, you're the new dorm chief. That was that. So that was that. And then I learned in there, that really kicked me off when we got out of there and went to our schoolings and whatnot. I learned that, you know, you when you can make sense in there and you've thought it out, I learned for the first time, here it is, because I didn't react to Airman Curry. I responded to a situation. And I saw that it finally paid off because I'd been in a world where people didn't give a crap. You know, what is this with this potty mouth today? So it must be because we're in here, you know. I need to break a bottle or something here to really get into the spirit. But anyway, yeah. So that was just one of just tons of real life OJT in the moment, cut your teeth, you know.
I think, you know, those stories are what makes the military experience what it is, you know, amazing, right?
You never forget them.
But yeah, you mentioned several names, you know, dropped several names. Lauren's not affiliated with Lounge with Legends. If you have any issues, make sure you go to Bathroom Moments. If you have any issues with those lawsuit issues.
To Bathroom Moments at gmail.com.
Yeah. But you notice how we remember those names. And I could see the emotion because you were in that moment again. Just right now, when you were sharing that moment with us, you immediately saw yourself back in that moment. And that's
right in that dorm, right in that office. Right. Yeah. Well, if you'd have seen Sergeant Morse, he looked like a bulldog, literally. And they said there was a rumor that he chewed glass, and I believed it.
I could see it.
I believed it. I believe he was on me. We weren't even out of the airport. You know, they called us rainbows because all of our clothes didn't match. Right. And I chose the Air Force. You know why? When I made the decision, because before I put my hand up at that MEP station, I went to the library and looked at the uniforms of all the different branches. I was like, ooh, Navy. No, I am not wearing those bell bottoms. That was not flattering at all. And I love the dress blues from the Air Force. I said, that's the one. I had no idea of where Air Force, you know, I had no idea that Air Force was the best at the top, the cream of the cream, the star of the universe. I did not know that.
Mute him now, James. Mute him now.
That was your responsibility to hit the mute button when he gets out of control.
I wonder how many times September 1st I'm going to get beat up down there where we're all going to be at for saying stuff. I'm going to have to meet some Air Force people as soon as I get there.
May 1st.
May 1st.
May 1st. What did I say? April?
September.
I didn't say September.
Did you?
We'll have to hit the playback and the replay and we'll watch it back.
Lord, that would be a senior moment. But I can't wait. But yeah, good old days.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, you know,
April 1st, that's you bring that up. April 1st, Lauren's coming down. It just by happenstance. Lauren's coming down.
No such thing. Everything is purposeful. Everything.
We found out that Lauren is coming down for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be on. Can I say what you're going to be on?
Yeah.
So he's going to be on the cover of Robert.
Cover, right?
The cover of Shift Magazine.
Cover of Shift Magazine. Robert Garcia, the Warrior.
July issue.
The July issue.
Yeah.
So he's coming down.
I'm born on the 4th of July.
That's right. My mom was July 3rd.
I have a brother, July 3rd. Yeah.
So
yeah. So it's great.
They tried to put me on the cover, but they said I just didn't have that look. So I don't understand. I bought sunglasses.
Clearly.
Whatever.
Clearly you should be on the cover of GQ.
So Lauren will be here in the DC area. James is coming up because we're going to be with Donnell Johns with Veterans Grove, Virginia, and the Rosie Network at the Fort Belvoir PX here in Virginia, being supported and supporting their efforts with a whole bunch of veterans selling our products. outside of the PX. So it's going to be a great event. It's going to be live music and food and a bunch of veteran businesses out there. So it's going to be a great event. And we get to hang out with Lauren. Triple Nickel is going to be there.
Triple Nickel, Annette.
Annette'll be there.
So many wonderful people that I've had the pleasure of working with since I started working digitally, doing commercials and whatnot. For so many of you business owners and authors in the the veteran community. So it's just, when I found out that was happening, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I could believe it, but it was just like so good. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of commercials, this might be a great time for those. So you can, because I think you probably were involved in it.
Look at James A. Felt, Spartan 6 on it.
Let's take a quick commercial break then.
All right.
You're watching the Lounge with Legends TV show with your hosts, Marty Martinez and James A. Felt.
All right.
Whoa.
James, I got a quick question. I'm putting you on the spotlight. What was that second commercial? How'd that get in there? What was that?
How did it get in there?
So that second one, tell us about that. The Lauren Michaels Harris coaching.
Something, again, I said I'd never do, thought it wasn't for me. And my very first coach, who was in the audience of my very first speaking engagement, my very first paid speaking gig was for 250 top speakers from Chicago, CEOs and authors and public speakers. So good way to cut your teeth. Anyway, Barry Schimmel was my original coach. That's him on the back. And we wrote this book together. And Barry said, well, it's time to start putting your coaching program paperwork together, so get it out to your lawyer and whatnot. I said, what coaching program? I didn't say anything about coaching. He goes, that's good. That's why I know you're going to be one. And I know you're going to be a great one because they're going to tell you. And about a year later, that's exactly what happened. A woman thought I was having a discovery call with, see if I wanted to get her on Bathroom Moments, which was just on Facebook back then. And she goes, oh, I'm so grateful. I've been looking for 3 years, and God has blessed me with my coach. And I said, oh, Riel, who, when, where? And she was like, you. And she's still with me today. So I work with people primarily on message discovery, how to find that message that resonates with the world. And it's not as easy as a lot of people might think, because it takes a lot of courage to look over your shoulder and own the life that you've lived. And in order to capitalize on your story of today, which is where you're going to find your best content. Here it comes, Marty. Here it comes. Your content, your best content, your best stories are going to always be found in the life you're currently living or have most recently lived. But in order to realize that and know how to understand the beauty and all the joy within today, you have to go back and pick up all the things that you left behind, because everything that we've ever lived that we thought was some kind of a pain or trauma, well, it may have been, but it wasn't the only thing that occurred in that moment. There was also, like, say, for instance, that trauma was a door to a room that you don't want to go back in. Let's put the crime scene tape up and call it a day. One of these days, you're going to find the courage, hopefully, to lift that tape and go back in there, because now you're coming in a better evolved person. You've utilized the ER of life, taken everything you've always been and made it greater, stronger, brighter. And now you come in looking through different lenses. And that same door looks the same except for one little detail. Down at the bottom, there's a little doggy door. Because that's where a blessing, a future blessing, came in at the same time as that trauma. And it was born into the process of becoming. And that is what is the beautiful part for me of working with people in that aspect. Watching them face down demons that don't exist. Watching them return 16, 17, 30 pieces of luggage that doesn't belong to them. None of them match. But they've always been said, oh, don't mess with her or him. They come with a lot of baggage. Well, they go back and they throw that crap back where it came from. Mm-hmm. Because I was that way. I mean, until I faced down my demons about my past, the scars and the shaming of stuff I didn't even have control of. I was a kid, for Christ's sake. You know, I tell people all the time, excuse me, that I didn't crawl out of my crib at 7 days old and tell my birth mother and the family, hey, y'all, I'm blowing this popsicle stand. Send my diapers. Here's the address. Send my pacifiers and stuff over here. I didn't do that. So for a long time, I didn't like those rooms. I didn't like the possibility of even going back to those moments because why would I? Nothing good ever came from it, but the me of today came from it. So once I realized that, once I liked me today, I couldn't help but be curious about, I wonder if I liked even a little bit of me of yesterday. And I started going back, and all those blessings that came through that doggy door were sitting right there waiting for me, just like at Christmas, with a tag, to Lauren from Purpose. And because the thing is, everything we live through, you guys, every single thing, if we realize that it's happening on purpose, then we have a better chance of realizing that we want to take this experience and move into whatever is next for us with purpose. And that's the beauty of time travel, known as remembering ourselves to the life we've already lived. And that's what I help people do.
So one of the things that you helped me do, and James, I'm speaking for him, is I think it was
seen that happen before.
I know, right?
I think
it was a slam the hammer session where you specifically addressed our words that deceive and the power behind that, because people may not know what they're doing by utilizing these words. And especially here in this community, if we're celebrating veteran success and people that are in a dark spot, we may not know that they're utilizing them. They're saying, well, I just do, and whatever. And so can you speak just a little bit on that?
Sure. Let me give you some of my, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. They're very clever and conniving, beguiling, if you will. Excuse me. I studied words that deceive not long after I entered the foster care system. I started things, there were certain, I have this gift with words. Seriously. I mean, I actually see words in 3D, and when I that's how I create my content. The words that belong in this speech or belong in this story or whatever look the same color, same font. I just pull them down and put them down. Pull them down from there and put them down. That's why I have a wall of purpose. It's I'm trying to figure out how I really want to tackle this one. Okay, let me give you some examples, some easy ones. Out of nowhere, the strangest thing, isn't it weird? You know, oh, I'm so lucky. This is good as hell. Really? All the way to misuse of the word TOO, too. You know, it doesn't deceive when it's placed where it's supposed to be at the end, to be inclusive, to add unto, to increase. Here, you want some too? Oh, come on. We have room for you too. But when you move it to the middle of the front, it becomes a serial killer. Mm-hmm. I'm too old. I'm too ugly. I'm too fat. I'm too poor. You know, I'm too late. all these different things. And I realized that just that one alone had murdered, just disemboweled. I want it to be clear. Disemboweled, decapitated, however you need to see it. Many, 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 many dreams of mine. I talked myself right out of it. Because it is the father, words that deceive are the parents of doubt, the parents of a low self-esteem. They really are. And I realized, I said, well, if nothing else, I don't have control over what other people say to me or say about me or say around me, but I do have control of what comes out of my mouth. Right. So because I believe that our thoughts are like seeds, they come out. Those thoughts are now words. That's the plant that grew from the seed. And whatever effect it has on people around you, good, bad, or indifferent, is the fruit that plant bore. And there are only two sponsoring thoughts. One, you're either doing something from a motive of love or a motive of fear. And so I stopped using them because I found that they always jump, usually in my world, between words 1 and 7. They jump in front of some truth. Like, hey, where you going? Not so fast. Over here. Like when you see a band coming down the street at a parade, a marching band, and the people are carrying that banner, tells you, oh, coming up, the so-and-so Argonauts. So you don't question that they may have a big old thing that says Spartans on their chest chains. And but you don't, oh, they must be the Argonaut Spartans. You just take it for face value. And that's what words that deceive do. They always jump in front of the truth. I'm too old to da 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 da. If you move it, it changes it back to the reality. So I started looking at, well, why did that word that deceive, or that phrase that deceives, why was it so important that it jumped? What did it jump in front of? So I took the focus off of that and onto the thing that it's talking about. Because words that deceive are always referring to an end result. I always use an example of, say, like the woman who is going to lose her job if she's late one more time. She has 3 kids. There's no milk for the cereal. And she realizes at 11:30 at night that she doesn't have enough gas to get to work. She has no money. She doesn't get paid until 4 o'clock that afternoon. When she gets to work, she gets a check before she comes home. She calls everybody she can to get some milk, get some money. Can I borrow $10? Nobody's answering. Nobody's picking up, whatever. And she's sitting up there worried. And then all of a sudden she feels chill out of nowhere. Oh, she goes for her favorite sweater in the hall closet, but notices that one wire hanger that she hates, but somehow always is in the closet, has whatever was on it, a hoodie, let's say, fell to the ground, fell to the floor. As she begrudgingly picks it up, well, might as well put this on. Might as well. And as she does, and she wraps it around her and she slides her hands into the pocket, she feels what she thinks is an old receipt or something. Got to be a piece of tissue or something. But imagine her surprise when she pulls out a $20 bill that she didn't even remember or ever even knew she had. Now, all those people that she left messages for to call her back, please, it's an emergency, this, that, and the other. Oh, Lord, what am I going to do? Oh, God, they're going to fire me. Oh, calling out, asking for help, literally and figuratively. But the moment she finds that saving grace, what comes out of her mouth? Oh, how lucky. And the phone rings. Hi, Doreen. Oh, I'm okay now. You won't believe what just happened. I put on an old sweater and out of nowhere, not giving credit, that, wait a minute, is it possible that I actually asked something greater than myself to save me, and it did? The realization of what we have at our disposal in front of us and around us, those things I speak of beyond the veil that we don't see, but are nonetheless moving parallel. The only way for us to be able to understand the full capacity of our power in this world and beyond is to work your way to the Uigui center, which is the truth. It is the only thing. Why is the truth so important? Obviously, because it's the only thing. I defy anyone to find a second one, but it's the only thing in the universe that never changes and will never change on you. The truth, if it comes out of our mouth right now, will be the truth a billion years from now. It will be. If someone tried to change it or bend it, which is impossible, whereas it can't bend the truth, it's not the truth. You can't, and no such thing as a little white lie. A lie is a lie is a lie. They don't come in pints, quarts, or gallons. So the truth is so, so important, because sometimes, you know, that's the thing you have to find about yourself in order to step into your God-given destiny. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself to prove that you're ready to be honest with the world. If you can't be honest in your own head, how dare you ask God for what you believe to be greater, them, they, she, her, him, permission to enter the minds and hearts and therefore the souls of the rest of the world. Because if it says, here you go, here's your ticket, you're not just giving a ticket for one person, it's 6 people. It's not about how many people are on that screen watching right now. Because if you have access into one, you've gained access into all. Because what is greater than us doesn't think that one of us is less or more deserving than the next. So it's all about the truth game. And words that deceive, you know, one that really sticks in my crow is when people, you say, tell me about yourself. What do you do? Well, basically, there's nothing, you didn't think it was basic when your ass was hungry. You didn't think it was basic when you thought you were going to get evicted and you got that job at the last second. All the things you've come through, were they basic when you didn't know if you'd get out? And now that you're out, they're basic? Right. So what will you see the next one? That is eventually coming, because that is the pulse of life. Where there's up, there's going to be some down. And where there's down, there will always be more up. That's the truth. And you who wants a flat line, many of us spend decades. I just can't wait till I can sit back and just relax. I want smooth sailing. Smooth sailing is the equivalent of a flat line. If we put your life pattern up on a heart monitor of the universe, if you see a flat line, I mean, there's no proof. There's proof that there is no life. You go. But if you have life, it's up and down. In which direction does it always start? When they bring them back, it's like, it goes up first. You're going to always get the best thing first. It never starts. It never, that's not the rhythm. It always goes and goes up. So if nothing else, if you flat on your back, look up. If you look up, you have a better chance of getting up. And if you get up, all you got to decide now is to stay up.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
That's powerful, powerful. Ooh.
That's it.
That's powerful stuff. That's now you know why we have Lauren on here. You know, every time we speak, I learn something new every time.
And I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
So Lauren, I got a question. So you've got a couple of different programs that you do for coaching, and you got your Slam the Hammer mastermind session. So with these programs, you have an intent that you want people to gain from it. But have you ever had a client that achieved something that you didn't expect? You kind of an unexpected positive outcome. You were like, oh, shoot, that was pleasantly surprising, because I wasn't actually even going there, but I unlocked something in someone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense. And it's actually a very great question. Yes. And thank God, because that's how I saw the footprints when I was like, wow, I'm so surprised. You know, I expected you to do this, but I'm surprised that it turned into that. But when I would reflect on it, and I'd look across the white carpet of purpose for footprints of how something got to point A, from point A to point B. How did that happen? I noticed that the footprints were all around me too. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I watched other people do things I knew they were capable of, but I was surprised. It stopped me. I didn't know it had affected me, and I had learned from them, because that's the beautiful part of being a service. Always you think you're watching something happen to someone else, and it's happening to you, sometimes even in a bigger way at the same time, because of your unconditional mindset of service. And a lot of my clients, coaching clients, did that for me, because all they needed was one person to believe in them, to take them by the hand. And that's what happened with me. You know, Brian, my husband, was before he was my husband, we were just dating. He heard me mention the possibility of being a speaker one time. He bought me a book 6 months later for our first Christmas about how to become a motivational speaker. That book is still on my nightstand upstairs. Some of you have heard this before, but it is just as crackly, crunchy, new as it was the day he handed it to me. I don't think I even read the preface or anything, and because it wasn't what was in the book. It was what was always in me. And all I needed was one person to say, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I see through you to where you were meant to be. And the reason I keep that book there now is to remember that before I go looking for what I need anywhere else in the universe, I have to look within myself. I have to look, I have to believe, I have to find out, is it already here?
Right.
And that's why those of us who are, which is all of us, are influencers in one way or another. The tests come in all shapes and sizes that test our own theories on us.
Yeah.
You know, put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing.
Yep.
And we can never forget that, you know, because my guest today was talking about that, how as a psychotherapist, you know, all the years that she'd worked with people, and then when her mother died, she couldn't get out of bed for 10, 15 days. You know, it's different when you're the one on the hot seat. So to answer your question, yeah. But the thing is, I remember something happened big in my life, and Brian and I were doing what we always do, a happy dance. And he just stopped dead and said, honey, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, why? He's like, because that dance, you're doing it differently. You don't feel like you're as into it. Are you not happy, as happy? I said, I'm very happy. I'm just no longer surprised because I expect it. God said to me one day, why are you always surprised, Lauren, when you get great, great, great things in your life? When you order something from Amazon Prime and you get that notification that says your order has shipped, it'll be on your door by 9 p.m. tonight. At 8:58, when the doorbell rings and you peek out and you don't see anybody and you immediately look down and see something, you're not surprised it's there because you expected it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever dream you see in your mind, whatever hope you have in your heart, expect it and quit being surprised. You know, quit being surprised. And so I learned that from the original answer to your question, through other people.
Right.
You see?
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. And I love it. I love the coaching. I really do.
I think you were born for it.
By,
thank you.
By coaching and teaching others, you grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And even the growth can be something as subtle as I've become a more effective communicator because now I'm building more experience by learning through others and with others.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can better convey a message and have that message conveyed to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And paying it forward, I just want to say this, as I know we're going to be short on time here, but, you know, unconditional. You know, I learned this through the 14-year drug addiction when I was in there. And the only thing that I remember the day I had the download that said, don't beat yourself up too hard about this, this world you're living in right now. You're going to get out of it because there is a stronger power than what you feel around you now. Because I was beginning to believe, excuse me, that the power of addiction was stronger and more forceful than anything in the universe. But I found that unconditional love is the strongest force in the universe. And that you find your way to that by being of service to others with no strings attached. I believe in promising 100% on anything that I agree to do, being impeccable with my word, like the 4 Agreements asks of us. But I try to deliver 1,000%. All right, look at you guys. Wow, that was like right on cue. You didn't even know I was going to say that. Wow.
Airbone.
That tells you right there, you're doers. You're doers, you know?
We refer to that one. I've got one final question, and it's the question that we ask all of our guests is, you've served and you've sacrificed so much for our great nation and all of our military service members have missed Christmases, missed first steps, missed so much, but we do it for freedom. And so my question to you is, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means to me the opportunity to grow and evolve by being wrong.
Ooh.
That you can be wrong. You can be on the wrong side of the political aisle. You can be on the wrong side of the religious aisle. But you're in a place where we live in a place where you can be wrong. You can be whatever, and you don't have to, worry. You should not have to worry about dying for it. As far as saying, I don't want to wear this, or I want to do this on this certain day, or whatever. That's what the freedom means to me. And I learned that through my experience in the military, and the people that come. I always say, when they always say, oh, they find out you're a veteran, they go, thank you for your service. I wish somebody had started that mantra to say, thank you for your sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the stuff that people don't see on the news that, especially you combat veterans. We were talking about it the other day, how many births you miss. First tooth coming in, first walk, first word, things that there are no do-overs for. Right. And so the freedom to be able to even, see a lot of the things that we've seen happen in our country over the last year or so, or just history, but still we are here. I have never, ever, when you watch the news and you see what's going on in other places in the world, if that isn't enough right now, right then in the moment to say, but you can only see through that lens of true unconditional freedom and love and all that comes with it, if you don't look at those situations and say, oh, well, that's what happens to other people.
Right.
That doesn't happen here. Because if people stop serving, signing up, and even if they brought a draft back if they had to, it wouldn't be the same mindset. Right. And the willingness and dedication that you get with people who go on their own, of their own accord. So I just say to people, freedom is everything you look at that you consider important to you right after you draw a breath. Because we all need a breath to live. So whatever you reach for after you're breathing, that's a freedom. Don't get it twisted, and don't ever take it for granted.
All right. Well, let's end on that. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Appreciate being here.
It's a great session. Thanks for having the Loquacious Longfellow on our very first episode with our guest, Lauren Michaels Harris. Be sure to check him out on Facebook with Bathrobe Moments.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lauren.
So excited for you. Great job.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for honoring me. I'll never forget this. Seriously, I'll never forget it.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
James, what a great session with Lauren. I think you definitely made the right call by bringing him on the show. It was
very powerful. It's not about us, right? It's not about me. Never has been, never will be. Absolutely.
We've got next week. Stay tuned. Next week, we've got Sergeant Major retired Christian Lamont Christian with the Big Red Barn Retreat, and he's going to talk about how he helps soldiers with their post-traumatic stress and establish that positive growth mindset. So
I'm excited.
It's going to be a great show. And make sure you check out our sponsor, GritConEvents.com for the GritCon Conference 2021. James, as always, I thank you for your service, sir.
Right back at you, Marty. Airborne. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thanks.
You've been watching the Lounge with Legend show on E360 TV, countering the narrative that veterans are all broken misfit toys. Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom. Serving in harsh situations, coupled with their training, have forged them into some of the most resilient and capable leaders in the world. And that's where we come in, celebrating the success stories, taking you on a journey of transformation from military to business. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But find us on Facebook at Lounge with Legend or at JTF214. Till next time.